Hello to everyone and welcome to today's Catalyst Center virtual event. My name is Tanner Swift and I'll be your host for today's session. I'm excited to introduce a wonderful speaker for you today, but before I hand the mic over to our presenter, we do have a few housekeeping items to cover about this presentation. Today's virtual event will be recorded and made available on demand after the live session, and the playback will also be available on YouTube for rewatch as well. We'll provide you with some further details at the end of today's event. Also, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. During the session, if you have any questions for our presenter, you can submit them via the audience Q&A section on Slido, where we will answer your questions live or during the Q&A portion of today's event. You'll see some QR codes sprinkled throughout today's session where you can participate, so be on the lookout for those. There will also be a couple poll questions for you to participate in via Slido, as well as a survey near the end of today's session for you to answer. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Casey Hamilton to the stage, who's going to share with you some details about today's Catalyst Center session. Casey, right over to you. Okay, we might have some technical difficulties with getting Casey on here. No worries. We'll kick it right back to him here in a moment. We are going to have some poll questions, as we just mentioned, for you to answer during today's session. So I'm going to go ahead via Slido and start those poll questions live. They're just a couple multiple choice poll questions. Feel free to go ahead and provide your answers. We'll cover them throughout today's session as well. And Slido will also be the location for today's survey questions. We'll push those live at the end following our Q&A. But bear with us here for a few moments as we try to get Casey back on board with us. We're looking forward to getting through some slides and a live demo for you today. Just a quick reminder, you'll see some QR codes on your screen sprinkled throughout the session where you can participate in some poll questions, as well as providing some questions that Casey can answer during the Q&A session. So I think we got Casey back up and running. He's going to hit the stage now and walk you through some slides. Casey, right over to you.
All right, thank you, Tanner. Let me go ahead and go through the deck. So my name is Casey Hamilton. I'm a solutions architect here at Cisco, and I work with Catalyst Center automation and programmability. And I'm excited to take you through some of the new features that are in Catalyst Center as of version 2.3.7.x. The features I'm going to be focusing on today are CLI templates and some changes that were made to network plug and play. So the PnP within Catalyst Center as well. CLI templates, you may have worked with or heard of Template Hub. That's what it used to be called. It has gone through multiple naming revisions, and I'm going to go through that during this call. But when I say CLI templates, just think Template Hub. That is what it was called previously. All right. So again, my name is Casey Hamilton. I'm going to go ahead and Tanner, did you go through this poll while I was cut out?
I went over the polls that we're going to push live today, but I haven't gone over in detail what the questions are just yet. So,
all right, over to you, Tanner.
Question is now live for you to participate in. What version of Catalyst Center are you currently running? Please let us know. And Casey, I'll follow back up with you later in this session that we can go over some of these answers.
Awesome. All right, so today we're going to understand what CLI templates are. We're going to learn about some new features and design of CLI templates, or we're going to learn about the new features implemented. We're going to explore different capabilities of plug and play with Catalyst Center, and then we're going to learn the new features and capabilities of plug and play within Catalyst Center. So again, this is just an agenda of what we are going to cover step by step. We're also going to do a live demo at the end of this session. So I'm going to walk you through each of these features in release version 2.7.9. All right, so first off, what are templates? Templates allow you to do a lot of configuration, standardization across network devices that are managed by Catalyst Center. And this can be from devices ranging from routers, from switches, wireless controllers are now supported, as well, and they help you standardize and increase efficiency and speed when you're configuring out these templates, when you're deploying configuration. Reason being is they are programmatical. You'll notice here at the very bottom, it has Cisco like a laser pointer. It has different languages that are supported. It supports Apache, Velocity template language, which came out, I believe, in release 1.2.5. So that has been around a while. The recommended one to use is Jinja templating language. It's basically Python. It came out in Catalyst Center 2.1.x, and it's very easy to use and understand. If you're familiar with Python, you should be able to grasp it quite easily. So those are the template languages supported. Within those, you can do, again, for loops, you can create variables. And this way, what you're accomplishing is when you go and I guess, provision this configuration out to a network device, what'll happen is it's going to ask you for, if you declare any variables within that template, it's going to ask you for specific values that you can put into that device. Because of course, as we know, each device is going to be different in flavor, and this will allow you to go ahead and change that flavor per device when you go and provision the templates. We also have day 0, day end templates. I'm going to talk about these here in a second. Day 0 and day end, the concept of these are very important to understand when you're working with templates. But yeah, this is essentially what templates are. You can organize them into projects as well. So for example, if you have a security project full of security configuration files, you can put all your templates in there. Same goes for routing, switching, etc. VPNs. You can create different projects for deployment. By default, you'll notice there's an onboarding configuration project within Catalyst Center, and this relates to the day 0 config. This is your base configuration. Day N refers to is any kinds of changes after day 0 that you'll deploy, and those will be the rest of your projects. Okay, so how are templates useful? I kind of covered this already, but think of 2 big key points. One, they increases standardization. So there's a locking mechanism where you can assign different templates to a specific site and also to a specific device family or version. These need to match in order for that template to be able to be deployed over to network devices. It's very important that they match. If not, it's not going to show up during the provisioning process. So this helps with standardization, creating base configuration and assigning various base configuration to network devices depending on their location. Also, it increases speed and efficiency because, again, you can bring in that programmatical aspect to it. So bringing in Jinja or Velocity, it'll help with reducing complexity and speeding up the process of creating configuration. And this is how that looks. So you'll configure templates within CLI Templates, and then you'll assign them to network profiles. You'll assign your network profiles to a site, and then you'll go ahead and provision your devices. Here it's going and provisioning those. Again, the network profile is going, the site, the network devices here, they need to be under the site that the network profile is assigned to in order for that template to show up during provisioning. Okay. And then we have our templates overview. This is, again, just another reiteration of how this looks. Here, we're going to be more so focusing on creating templates and looking into, like in the demo, we're going to look into the changes made to CLI templates. However, there is another workflow. We assign the template to a network profile and provision a device with that network profile. The good news is, with previously with Template Hub, what you couldn't do was within the Template Hub, assign a template to a network profile or provision that template to a device. Now with CLI templates, you are able to do both. You're able to assign it from one cohesive UI on the fly. So you can create your template in one UI, assign that to a network profile within that same UI, and then assign it to a site and then deploy straight from CLI templates. So it removes a lot of steps, saves a lot of time, and helps with efficiency. All right, so let's dive a little bit further into day zero versus day end templates. Day zero templates are going to be more so used when you provision a device for a first time. And if you've worked with Catalyst Center, you know that there's a few different ways to provision a device. You can go the manual route where you discover a device and then you just provision it manually within the inventory. There's a few other ways you can do it. You can do LAN automation. This is going to be mostly geared, when you use LAN automation, that's going to be mostly geared towards greenfield environments and new environments. The reason being is it uses ISIS as a routing protocol, and it sets up an underlay network for SDA. So that's another approach. And it doesn't necessarily use templates or onboarding templates there. However, you would use a day-in template thereafter if you're using LAN automation. The final one is PnP. This is what we are going to be looking into today. PnP is great for brownfield deployments. It is also great for deploying day zero onboarding configuration templates. Once you deploy a day zero onboarding configuration template to a device that is new, is plugged into the network, it'll go ahead and configure it. It'll ask you to fill out its variables, any programmability that you incorporated into that template. It'll go ahead and ask you to fill that out at the time that you claim it with PnP. We're going to go into PnP a bit further in just a bit. So if you have not worked with it, no worries. We'll go up to speed, get you up to speed on what PnP is. Now, all right, the main goal is to deploy the base configuration to the device. Once that base configuration is done, the big part of the change management workflow is to make sure that that device matches our business intent, right? And we do that through collecting telemetry, looking at assurance, and seeing if we're gaining the necessary information. From here, we need to apply changes. We may scale out our network. We may require new features. We may need to look into new applications that are running on our network. How are they performing on our network? This is when day-in provisioning templates come into play, because then at this point, we need change management for any kind of security reviews, security changes. This is when day-in comes into play, and that would be our goal then. Okay. We also have composite templates. What composite templates will do is they will allow us to assign multiple templates together, reorganize their order in which they are deployed. The device type must be selected when defining a composite template, and they must be committed. So if you ever run into an issue where you're trying to create a template, a composite template, and a template doesn't show up, that you want to add to it, right? Because this is multiple templates and you can change the order that will be implemented all at once on a device. Most of the time, it'll be because it has not been committed. You need to have a single template saved and committed. And committed means that it is it's approved. Basically, it's good to go. It's ready to be provisioned at that point. In that case, it should be good to go with composite templates. But they are great. They allow for a lot of flexibility when you're deploying a bunch of different templates out to devices. And when working with template editor, we have a little bit of interactive commands we can do as well. By default, we are in configure terminal mode within the template editor or CLI templates. However, you can get to mode to enable mode by doing a hashtag mode enable, and then you would do a mode end enable. An example of this would be if you needed to like generate a certificate or something like that, you would use this command. The other thing is you can do interactive commands. So like, let's say again, if we're generating a certificate, right? And it's going to ask us basically, are you sure you want to generate a certificate? This is where we can type in the expected interactive question that it will ask us, and then we'll do a little R right here for our response. And in this case, we just put a Y, R, and then we put a Y there, and then we would tell it, yes, we want to generate a certificate. And then you would end it with ends interaction. Likewise, if you're doing any kind of banner configuration, so banners, you can do multi-line commands. So MLT, CMD, you would do this, and this is really good for, again, if you're going to put a certificate within, or if you're going to put in any kinds of banners, you would use multi-line commands. Next, we have block list commands, so router list, and These devices do not support these kinds of commands, so just be aware of that. Anything within the Catalyst 9K series does support all of these commands. All right, so what is new with templates? The first thing is I mentioned it's changed from Template Hub. It went from template editor. So it went from template editor to Template Hub to CLI templates. And there's a few reasons for this. First off, this is where template editor was. It was tools, template editor right here. We changed the name template editor and changed it to Template Hub. And when you actually go ahead and click Tools Template Hub, this is where you'll get the message here that says this page has a new location at CLI Templates. All right, so it's been moved. The reason it has been moved is because logically it makes more sense for it to be assigned over near the network profile section, because this is the next step after creating a template. As I mentioned earlier, within CLI templates, you do have the ability to go ahead and assign a template from a network to a network profile within the same UI. However, it makes more sense from a navigational standpoint to go directly from design to network profiles. You can see design network profiles right here, and then we have our CLI templates right here. This is where it will redirect you to. And then again, after you assign that template to a network profile, it is good to go and ready to be provisioned to your devices. Some other really neat features that are out is you have the ability to provision templates again directly from CLI templates. This is how you would do it. It's grayed out right now, but what you would do is you would check one of these boxes or multiple boxes. And the biggest thing is it needs to be attached to a profile. If you select a template that's not committed, it's not attached to a profile, this is going to still be grayed out. You can see it's kind of grayed out now because I don't have it selected. But if I were to select one of these that is attached to a network profile, like this one right here, the 9800, then I'll be able to go ahead and click provision templates and do it straight from the dashboard, select the devices that are under that site for that network profile, and then it'll deploy it out to those devices. Other really neat thing, it has the identity to flag potential design conflicts. Why is this important? It's important because Catalyst Center is going to implement configuration of its own based on the intent, based off of your business intent. And let's take, for example, SDA. If we're using SDA, Catalyst Center is going to automatically generate, it has a range of VLANs that it uses to map IP pools to virtual networks. All right, and if we were going to define those VLANs within our templates, Catalyst Center is going to flag these as a potential design conflict. It doesn't mean that you're going to basically be that you're going to implement SDA. It's just warning you that in advance, if you plan to use SDA in the future, it's going to warn you that this may impact its intent, its kind of configuration that it does, or for any kinds of features within Catalyst Center. And I think other things like the onboarding VLAN for PnP or quality of service, implementing application visibility or application experience. It'll flag anything that may come or be an issue with your design when configuring and building out your templates. The other really neat thing, and it has provision conflicts as well. So it's able to detect, hey, this is able to detect the running configuration on a device, and then it's able to flag, hey, this template's assigned to this site under this network profile, but it basically has an override, or it's going to overwrite current configuration that may cause potentially an outage on that network device that we're going to deploy to. Lastly, we have CLI template best practices. These are just some best practices. This was not here before in Template Editor or Template Hub. This is going to give you a rundown on how to effectively use templates, how to create them. Do note as well that Catalyst Center comes pre-shipped with a bunch of sample templates for both languages. We're talking Velocity and Jinja, and you can utilize these as base to really learn those languages, get familiar with how templatizing works and then create your own templates from there. But definitely check out CLI template best practices because that can definitely help you understand and utilize its core features as well. Okay, so now that we covered template editor, as I mentioned, plug and play is a great segue from template editor, being that when you onboard a new device onto your network, what it'll do, it'll onboard the device, and what it'll do is it's going to deploy that base configuration, right? It's getting that device up and running. That device needs configuration. So plug and play is how we do this. What is plug and play? It reduces the need to manually configure devices and allows for consistent configuration across sites. You can drop ship devices directly to the site, and there's no need for a technician to install devices. I'm talking software upgrades or manually deploying base configuration. That is completely wiped out. Catalyst Center will do that for you. Also, stack switching is supported as well for plug and play. And within plug and play, you'll see wiring diagrams on how stack switching is supported as well. Okay, so how does plug and play work? There's a few discovery methods. So we have a device, we're plugging into our network, and it has no configuration at all. How does it find Catalyst Center? How does Catalyst Center know about it? All right, there's a few things that needs to happen in order for it to find Catalyst Center. The first method that we could use is DHCP. What this is going to do is we have a DHCP server, let's say Active Directory, and it manages our IP address pools. Within this, we may have a specific IP address pool that's used for getting that device that was just connected to the network, layer 3 connectivity over to the network. And also, it has the ability to return within its offer message. So it's offering, discover, offer, it's offering that IP address to the device, getting layer 3 connectivity, but it's also offering an option 43 code as well. And you can configure this within your Active Directory server. All right, and the PnP string will look like this. The big thing is this is basically specifying these are codes that are going to be used for Catalyst Center. It's saying it's going to reach out to Catalyst Center over port 80. It has the IP address of Catalyst Center right here. So it's returning that to the device and it's letting it know, hey, reach out to Catalyst Center over this port number, port 80, and then it's going to add the DHCP server. And I'll explain to you in just a second visually, but it's going to reach out over port 80. But then after that, Catalyst Center is going to download a certificate onto that device so that it has a trusted connection, right? And then it's going to start using option port 443 at that point, HTTPS. Likewise, we have DNS lookup. So we may have a DNS server, which resolves a specific IP address of Catalyst Center. In this instance, what we would do is we would make sure that we have Catalyst Center registered as a fully qualified domain name. And then we will type in the name PnP server dot its local domain, and then it'll resolve that IP address. Let me back up just a second. One thing is how, when this device connects to the network, how is it able to find the correct IP pool within the DHCP server? Well, it depends on its upstream SVI. So let's say, based on the port it's connected to, what VLAN is that? What VLAN is it assigned to? And based off of that, what device up above is that VLAN's SVI, that IP address, that default gateway? And then from there, from that default gateway, from this SVI, there should be an IP helper command configured there that basically points to the DHCP server. So let's take, for instance, the device is connected to a port on VLAN 1. The upstream distribution switch has a SVI configured for that that's within the IP pool that device will receive. All right. It also has an IP helper configured under that SVI, and it will send it over, and that's how the DHCP server will know what IP address to give that device. So some other methods we have are cloud redirection. This is where we have a Cisco hosted cloud. You can see the URL right here, and that device will reach out. You will register a Catalyst Center within that cloud. It'll reach out to that device, And from here, it'll be able to reach out to Catalyst Center. The cloud will return the IP address of Catalyst Center. Lastly, we have USB-based bootstrapping. Here you can download a Cisco configuration file. You can find this at software.cisco.com. Note, it is only supported for Cat9K switches. What this will do is you will create the configuration, and then you'll plug it in to the switch. It'll go ahead and onboarding. This is more of a manual approach. It's not ideal, but it works if you're in more of an air-gap deployment. However, if you're in an air-gap deployment, most likely DHCP and DNS will work as well, and it's going to be more efficient. Okay, so this is how that looks. All right, so we have a new device connected. It's right here. It's connecting to the network, and it reaches out to a DHCP server, right? DHCP server returns this IP address over port 80. Then that device reaches out to Catalyst Center, and it connects through and installs the Catalyst Center root certificate. All right, so now it has a root certificate, and then it begins using HTTPS, a secure connection with Catalyst Center, right? Because we don't want to send our configuration files, our software images insecurely. So it's going to create that secure connection before it starts being managed by Catalyst Center. In this case, at this instance, it's going to show up in Catalyst Center as unclaimed. The thing about Catalyst Center, in order for it to show up as unclaimed, Catalyst Center needs to know what the serial number is of that device. If it does not have that serial number, it's not going to recognize that device. And within Catalyst Center, you have the ability to upload a bunch of serial numbers all at once. You can use a CSV file. Let's say you're deploying a new site and you just want to upload all these devices all at once and do plug and play. You have the ability to do so with this. You will upload a CSV file with all of the serial numbers, and then Catalyst Center will know, hey, I'm expecting this device to reach out to me, and that it'll show up as unclaimed, in which case you will need to claim that device, and it will onboard that device into Catalyst Center's management inventory. So what happens when it deploys that configuration? There's a few things that happens. One, I mentioned templates. We can deploy a template out to those devices. The other things are, it's going to, if you have device controllability enabled, this is key. If you're familiar with Discovery, device controllability is going to deploy certificates, SSH credentials, SNMP credentials, telemetry, netconf, as of 237 netconf as well. So it's going to deploy all of this out in order to enable many features within Catalyst Center. Catalyst Center needs these in order to enable assurance, for instance. We need telemetry to be able to crunch data, provide insights on how we can optimize our business intent, and make sure that our configuration matches that intent. All right, so it's going to deploy all of these SSH credentials, SNMP credentials out to here. And this does not take away from the templates that we deploy as well. We can deploy our base configuration as well. Just be aware that it is deploying this at the same time. Okay, so here's the basic plug and play workflow. You'll notice optional steps. So these are all optional. We don't need to have a template deployed. We can just onboard the device without a base configuration, then maybe deploy it later. Excuse me. What it'll do, the first optional step is getting it assigned an image, like a golden image for that network device, making sure that our devices comply and are standardized based off of the site they are located at, and make sure that they are all running the same version as intended. So SWIM is out of the scope of this session, but we will have many other sessions and include SWIM on that as well. It's another feature that ties directly into plug and play. The other one is onboarding templates. Again, it's totally optional. However, it is recommended to use templates when deploying base configuration. Next thing is creating a network profile and assigning it to a site. As we went over earlier, it's very seamless now on how to do this within the same UI. And then we'll add that device manually, or the device calls home over to Catalyst Center. This is required. The device will reach out over to Catalyst Center and show up as unclaimed. From here, we will claim that device. We'll assign it to a site, And based off of the site, we assign it to any images, golden images for that site or templates assigned to that site through a network profile will show up here. And then it will claim that device, add it to the admin, to the inventory. That device will now be available to be managed within Catalyst Center. It will also show up in assurance. So what's new with plug and play in 2.3.7? First off, this is not directly related to plug and play, but what we have is we have less steps. What we can do, and this isn't related to wireless at all, it's strictly wired. But now when we do a provisioning of our network devices, our wired network devices, by just a normal provision or through PnP, what will happen is we have the ability to deploy application visibility onto those devices by default. We don't have to go in and do extra steps anymore. This will be enabled by default. I will show you how to enable this during the demo, but it's very simple. What does this do? It allows you to look into the application experience. How are applications performing for your network clients within your network? How are applications performing from switches to switches? What does their bandwidth look like? How is everything being distributed? So this helps implement that and implement the workflow for it. Excuse me. Another thing is netconf. So netconf -a. This is new for the day zero deployment of PnP. Any devices that are compatible with netconf. So think the 9K family, 9800. netconf, Catalyst Center will recognize and will deploy netconf over to those devices, which is going to unlock a lot of new features for those devices. An example of this would be AI endpoint analytics, which would require netconf for it. So this is going to be deployed by default on when you do plug and play. All right, and next up, you have your C9800 day zero template support. With this, this is not previously, before 2.3.7, this is not available. We could not do templates when deploying or onboarding a Catalyst Center 9800 wireless controller. That was not available. It was available to wired devices. You could definitely do templates. However, now you can get very granular with your configuration of your 9800 wireless controllers. You'll just be able to do it during the provisioning workflow. And I will show you this during today's demo. We will go over this new feature as well, which leads us to our demo. Let me pull that up. I'm going to log into Catalyst Center. Make sure it's still logged in. Give me just a second. I'm going to stop sharing real quick.
I can talk for a minute. While Casey is getting his demo ready for you today, just a quick reminder, if you do have a question for Casey, once we get to our Q&A portion of today's event, you can send in your questions via Slido, and we will answer those shortly after the demo. Also, there are a couple poll questions that are now live for you to participate in. We'd love to get your feedback on that as well. It really helps us out for future sessions and such. So please, please, please take the moment, use that QR code right there on your screen, and provide your answers, Casey. And we'll go over some of those poll question answers too later. I'd love to get some of your feedback as to our audience today on how they answered those questions. Really appreciate you all joining us for today's Catalyst Center virtual event. Plenty more coming your way, and also plenty that we have done with Casey that you guys can check out on the Cisco Learning Network. Come talk to us, come have a conversation with us, ask some questions, share some info on Catalyst Center. We'd love to talk to you about it. So Casey, as we get into today's demo, I'm going to kick it right back your way when you are ready to go.
Thank you, Tanner. So here's Catalyst Center. If you're not aware of it, this is how the landing page works and how it looks. You get a lot of, you can see, you can get a lot of insights, a lot of details on your network devices, how everything's running, anything from AI endpoint analytics to images. This is the home screen of Catalyst Center. I am running the latest and greatest 2.3.7.9 of Catalyst Center. And what I'm going to do first, I did mention that application visibility bit. What I'm going to do is go to application QoS. And this is where you will select and manually control if you want to deploy that application visibility to your wired network devices. All right, so you'll click that, and then it'll go ahead and let me log back in. This is a demo version, so it'll do that sometimes. Give me just a second. All right, there we go. So that's how you'll enable that. You'll go once that's enabled. What'll happen is when you provision a network device that is wired, it's only for wired devices. It'll deploy application visibility, your QoS policies over to those devices automatically. And again, you can review the configuration that's being deployed before you push it out. That's one of the newer features in 2.3.7 as well, is configuration previews, to where it allows you to view the changes, the CLI commands, before you actually deploy it. What it'll also do is it'll help you like check for running configuration. What has changed? What's going to be changed? How does the current configuration look on that device versus what you're deploying to that device? You can think of it, if you've worked with Git, so it'd be similar to like running a Git diff, and it's going to flag different commands there for you. Okay, so we have our provision. Next up, we have tools. You'll see template hub right here. Again, it takes me to CLI templates, which will then bring me right here. So we have design, CLI templates, and then we have our network profiles right here as well. So they're right next to each other. However, you can do everything from CLI templates. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the 9800 template. This is what we're going to be working with plug and play. When I show you the new features in plug and play, this will be the template we're going to be working with. We're going to be working with that 9800 controller. Okay, so there's a few things here off the bat that you can see. We have, it's flagging potential design conflicts for your like different templates. It's looks like it's catching two. Again, what are design conflicts? Design conflicts are checking to see, hey, what configuration do you have in this template, and what are features that Catalyst Center has that may conflict with that configuration? All right, so think again, like SDA, AI endpoint analytics. It will detect and flag and let you know. It's not going to prevent you from deploying those, but it'll let you know that it could cause issues down the line. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to just look at this template. We have a host name, and then we have our little variable here, our IP access list, and here it's a standard basic template. When we go and provision it, it's going to ask us to fill out this variable for a host name. Next up, you'll notice the ability to attach to a network profile right here. This is where you go ahead and select, and you can select multiple profiles if you needed to. If I wanted to add other profiles, I could, and then I would click save. In this instance, our wireless controller is going to be assigned to New York. So I'm going to assign it to the New York wireless controller network profile. All right, and within this wireless controller network profile, it is assigned to 2 sites. All right, so I'll click save here. And then also we have our show design conflicts right here. So if I were to toggle this, by default, it is not toggled. If I were to toggle this, what it'll do is it'll flag and check, are there any design conflicts here? And actually, I do have you can tell there's none. Nothing's being flagged here at all. But let me open up another instance real quick. Give me just a second. Pull this up because I do want to show you what it looks like when it flags a device. So this is how it'll look. Let me make sure. Okay, good. We're loading. Yeah. All right. So this is going to, when I toggle this, we'll see. Okay, look. See those exclamation points? This is what it looks like when it's identified a design conflict. Reason being, it's saying this command is reserved to be used by Catalyst Center. In this instance, what it's going to do, it's referring to interface loopback 0. Interface loopback 0 is used for the management interface, for managing devices with Catalyst Center. So Catalyst Center is going to reach out to network devices in order to manage them. That is the reason it's saying, hey, you probably should not be using this within your configuration. Use a different loopback interface if needed. If you're configuring like a network routing protocol such as OSPF, and it requires a loopback interface for this, make sure you're using a different loopback if it's going to, if you require one as well, if it flags anything like that. Okay. So that's it for CLI templates. It's everything you can do, all the new features. Next step is going to be going into the plug and play process. So to go to plug and play, we'll go to provision, plug and play. And we can see our wired devices right here. We can see our serial numbers right here. Again, serial numbers are important. This lets Catalyst Center know, hey, these are the devices that are going to be reaching out to you. And we can see a bunch of devices here. They are all unclaimed, meaning they have gone through the process of discovering Catalyst Center's IP address, reaching out to Catalyst Center, and now they're ready for Catalyst Center to onboard that device. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this device, and I'm going to click Actions Claim. From here, I have the ability to give it a name and give it a device name here. By entering in a name, I'm going to select WLC NYC. I'm going to give it and assign it a site. So in this instance, we're going to, again, assign it to New York. And then I'm going to click Assign. If I selected a different site, that template that we saw earlier, because that template's assigned to a different network profile, to a network profile under New York City, if I assigned it to a different site, a different location, that template would not show up. And that helps with the standardization, making sure that devices are getting the intended configuration they need at the time of deployment. Okay, so now that I have the site selected, I'm going to go to the next step. This is going to be, you can see it just fetched that configuration. It's automatically identified, hey, this is the template we are going to be using. It's assigned to this site, so we're going to use WLC 9800 PnP. It's also detected. This is the golden image for that site. Again, this is out of the scope of this demonstration, but software image management is another topic that we may go into down the line, and it integrates very well with PnP. Basically, what we're saying here is we have a golden image assigned to this device family for this specific site, and Catalyst Center has detected it and mapped it to this wireless controller during the claim process. Last thing that needs to happen is we'll click Assign right here. I need to give it a management IP address, so I'm going to just quickly give it an IP address, give it a gateway, give it an IP interface, and VLAN's optional. I'll give it one of 10. And over here, we can see here's the image that's going to be deployed. I do have the ability to go ahead and change that image if there is another one available. However, that is the one available right there. And here's my onboarding template. I can look at this and review it before it gets deployed as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And this brings me to the provision template section. You will recall there is a variable within that template that we configured earlier. It was asking for a host name. So in this instance, what I'm going to do is give it the host name 9800 or WLC NYC. And I'm going to click Next, and it'll configure that variable and with that value in place of it. And here we have our configuration, and we have the ability to now preview our configuration. And it's going to deploy a lot to get this device ready to go. It's going to basically deploy all its base configuration. So it's, we have our device details, Catalyst Center LAN controller settings. This is what I just configured just a second ago. Image details, template CLI preview. All right, network settings. This is device controllability, getting it up to speed, ready to go for Catalyst Center communication and for collecting telemetry with assurance. Lastly, day 0 configuration. Notice how it has netconf yang. It has detected this device as supporting netconf. It's 9800, and netconf is required to manage this device. Therefore, it will configure netconf on this device. This is basically what it's all deploying out to that device. And then we'll go ahead and click claim, yes, and it will go through the claiming process. So device claim is in progress. And it'll claim the device and then add it to the inventory. We can see the device was claimed successfully. And it's initializing. It's going to go ahead and deploy that configuration over to that network device. Once it's finished deploying the configuration, you can see it's already provisioned. It'll assign it to that site, and then it's ready to be managed by Catalyst Center. So that concludes our demo. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint presentation, and we'll wrap things up. Give me just a second. And Tanner, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to you for the last poll.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Our next poll question is now live for you to provide some insights on. How likely are you to integrate the new features of CLI templates and plug and play into your network infrastructure? If you could provide your responses to that, would be greatly appreciated, and we'll recap some of those answers here before we get to the Q&A section of today's event. Casey, I did just want to share with you that first poll question, which is also still live if you want to provide your responses. What version of Catalyst Center are you currently running? Currently at 20%, don't have it installed yet, but 67% are at 2.3.7x,
Nice.
and the remaining at 2.3.2 to 2.3.5.
Awesome. Good to hear. Yeah, Callison, there's a bunch of new features on 2.3.7. This doesn't even like start with it. There's so many new features. So it's great to hear that a lot of you are already upgraded to it as well. For those who haven't, I know it goes through change review processes. You have to make sure you have approval, but I do recommend the latest recommended version is 2.3.6 right now if you do want to upgrade over to it. All right, so let's recap some key points to remember. Templates can now be attached to network profiles and provision to network devices directly from CLI Templates UI, increasing the seamless workflow of everything. The provision and design conflicts can be easily detected while crafting templates in 2.3.7, so this prevents from errors down the line, making sure you're good to go. Catalyst Center is checking and making sure it is not going to cause any issues. So this is a really good safeguard when using Catalyst Center. Next up, Template Editor has officially changed to CLI Templates in 2.3.7 and has been relocated under Design section of Catalyst Center. So if you're having trouble finding CLI Templates, just go under Design. That is the new location. It is not under Tools. Lastly, netconf is now enabled during the PnP claim process in Catalyst Center 2.3.7, moving the extra workflow of having to configure that within a template itself. All right, Tanner, I'll go ahead and hand it back over to you to close us out.
Yeah, really appreciate it, Casey. Thanks so much, and always love a good demo anytime we can bring that to our audience. I'll give you some of these early answers here to this second poll question that we just featured a moment ago. How likely are you to integrate the new features of CLI templates and plug and play into your network infrastructure? 42% at very likely, and also 42% at likely, leading the way with that question. Once again, if you want to provide your answer to those questions, you can do that via Slido, just the QR code that is on your screen at the moment. And feel free to join Slido and ask a couple questions as we are to our Q&A portion of today's event. And Casey, I'm going to kick it right back to you with a couple questions here. Let's start with this first one. Are CLI templates reusable across multiple devices?
Yeah, CLI templates can be applied to multiple devices, especially when using variables to adapt configuration of each device for specific requirements.
Great, thank you. Here's another one. What are the prerequisites for using PnP in Catalyst Center?
Prerequisites would be, well, you need option 43 if you're going to use a DHCP route. We need to make sure that it has physical connectivity over to Catalyst Center. However, and to the DHCP server or DNS server if you choose to go that route. Biggest thing is PnP needs to be supported. Check out your compatibility matrix and make sure you're good to go. There, we have our most up-to-date compatibility matrix for Catalyst Center and all of the integrations and network devices there. Be sure to check that out. Check out the PnP column, and that'll let you know if it's supported or not.
Great. On the flip side, what happens if a device fails to register with Catalyst Center during PnP?
Usually this has to do with a layer 3 connectivity at some point between what I found, the upstream SVI. So if it reaches out to the SVI, maybe IP helper is not configured. It can't find the DHCP server. Maybe that upstream device can't reach the DHCP server. Maybe option 43 on that DHCP server is not configured, or there's a pool mismatch. Usually that tends to be the issue. Once that device is able to retrieve that option 43 string, the IP address of Catalyst Center, everything's pretty fluid after that. It'll reach out to Catalyst Center, but also, again, make sure there's layer 3 reachability there as well.
Great. Thanks so much. Let's get to this next question. This one comes from Jason. Can it pull variables from a file, such as like a CSV, instead of entering them manually?
You can import a template into Catalyst Center via a CSV, right? And then what will happen is, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Like during the provisioning process, yeah, values of variables, yeah, there is a feature where you can go ahead and like import CSVs, and then it'll fill out the list of values within.
Great. Thanks for answering that, Casey, so much. As we are winding down this event, I do want to kick it back to you once more. Do you have any last words or comments you'd like to leave for our attendees before we do wrap up here?
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. I hope you got a lot of value from it. I do want to go over, there's some upcoming webinars that are coming out. 7:15, there's going to be a Meraki versus Catalyst Center webinar. You may have heard that UNX is a big thing, unified licensing at Cisco. We are, Catalyst Center and Meraki are getting closer and closer together. So if you're interested in Catalyst Center, definitely, I highly encourage you to learn a little bit about Meraki as well. This will be a good webinar to attend there. We also have a What's New in Catalyst Center 2.3.9 that we'll be doing July 16th. But I hope everyone got a lot of value and enjoyed the session. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your week.
Great. Thanks so much, Casey. Just had another question roll in, if you don't mind answering this one as well, real quick.
Yep.
Yeah, this one comes in from Dean. Is there a list of CLI commands that should not be used in templates due to conflicts with Catalyst Center?
No, there's not an official list. Design conflicts does do a very good job at detecting, like if there's any intent. I mean, there's a way you could potentially come up with a list because Catalyst Center, I mean, you'd be able to see the configuration that Catalyst Center will deploy before it deploys to your devices. But there is no official list of all the commands that Catalyst Center uses because there's quite a bit of features and it can be very dependent because of how flexible these features are when actually deploying them out to your devices.
Great. Thanks so much for answering that. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much again, Casey. I also want to thank Julio Guerrero for helping out today on the Q&A side, as well as our producer, James McDonough, and the whole team for bringing your knowledge to the Cisco community today. If you do have additional question, we'll keep that Q&A panel open on Slido for a couple more minutes. So please feel free to ask additional questions if you have them. We also ask that you take some time to fill out our post-event survey via Slido. That survey is now live. Please take a few minutes to answer some questions on that. It helps us prepare some future sessions that we will continue to bring to you all each and every month. For even more tutorials, demonstrations, and future webinars, please visit the Cisco Learning Network. You can also follow up with any further questions, view resources from today's session, as well as its recording through our post-webinar discussion thread on the Cisco Learning Network. So come talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Once again, we thank everybody for joining us today, and we will see you next time on the Cisco Learning Network.